Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us with this little bit of Aramaic. We are in Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, and going through the Sermon on the Mount or the Beatitudes. I am just so enthralled with this study, and so I hope you're enjoying the little nuggets that we're able to mine out of this today. This next verse has been one that's always intrigued me. This part where it talks about blessed are the poor in spirit. And what you see on the screen here is a parallel version from Bible Hub, just showing all the different translations, and pretty much everyone uses the word poor in all of these translations. Here, Amplified says, blessed are the spiritually prosperous, but are poor in spirit. I've always been challenged by what this poor word poor means because it's very relative. If we were to think here only in Midwest Western culture, we would say, well, I don't make much money as so and so, and I'm in this income level, so I'm poor, so therefore I fit into this category of being blessed. But then there are those in other countries who look at it, those of us that live in the United States and in first world countries and say, boy, they're all rich, but look, I'm poor because I have nothing. And compared to all of them, there virtually isn't anybody in the United States or in a first world country that would compare and say they're poor in any way when you compare it to those that live in third world countries. So there's perspective here that I struggle with. And what is Jesus really trying to see and to say to us, and what do we see in in the Bible? So as we have this blessing of going into the ancient languages, um, have looked at the Hebrew version of Matthew Harley, and here it uses the word of ani, which is the Hebrew word for um, can be used for humble. And that's another word that's very challenging to wrap your understanding around. What does it mean to be humble? If is that something that if you realize you are, you've now lost it because of that knowledge? And so I struggle with some of those. So as I look at the Hebrew word here, I found some wonderful things to unpack, and we would just want to take a brief look at that and then look at the Aramaic to see, does it complement it? Does it say something different? Are the words similar or different? So looking at this word for um, again, Ashrei went through last week, but notice that this is a spirit of this word, which means we'll unpack that a little bit later, but understanding that it isn't so much the um, activity of that work, but it's the spirit behind it. It's the groundwork, or it's the basis foundation for what's being brought forth, or what we're looking at. So when we look at this word, which is the Hebrew in the lexicon 6035, it has multiple meanings. And again, we're going to go through some of those. It can mean humble, afflicted, kindness, or responding. How is humble defined? I see so many wonderful um, places to study. Read this book by Shai Held about Judaism, and he has a whole chapter on what humility is from a Jewish perspective. And so, just thinking about how is this defined, looking at other verses in the Hebrew Bible can be very helpful to try to look at how this word was used in different contexts. So from there, we're going to take a look at the Peshitta, which has it in Aramaic, and of course it's translated as, poor in spirit. But let's take a look at this word here as we analyze it and unpack this portion of the word. And we see here as we unpack it, it is 12263. We see it as a Samic kaf and noon safit. So we get a root word to it here. And when we open this up in the next level, it just tells us that it's um, poor. Again, it doesn't give us a whole lot, but we have other lexicons we can look in, and we have the root word. what I find interesting here is this word has two prefixes on it. It gives the root as the samik or simka, kaf, and nun, and then it has a lamed and a mem in front of it. Normally, those are prefixes, and the lamed can mean to, for, the mem can mean from or against, and so it intrigues me why there are two um, prefixes in front of it, in front of what we would say as the root word of the um, Samik Kaf Noon. So that is intriguing. So let's take a look at where we go here, and did a little bit of a study, just a quick look here, that the Lamed and the Mem, as I'm showing you on your screen, actually forms another word, and it can mean to learn or to teach, and it's a prefix used within the Hebrew. Um, the beauty here with the Aramaic is it's so closely related to the Hebrew that you can use Hebrew knowledge to help enhance your understanding. And also, as Jesus was speaking to the crowd, we believe he was speaking Aramaic, but they all had a Hebrew knowledge, and I don't know that it wouldn't be unrealistic to think that he might have thrown in a few Hebrew words here and there to emphasize, just like we do when we're speaking English. We'll throw, like I live in an area where German was very much the base language decades ago. And so somebody would be talking to you in English, trying to get a point across, and they'd go versteh, which is German for understand. Or for a while, it was common, you'd say capiche, which I believe is Greek for understand, or Italian. And or even if you're speaking to somebody and you're in a area where Spanish is spoken, you might say entiende, just to emphasize, you'd use another word to help bring home the point. Could this be something Jesus did here, this Lamed Mem? Um, I found this quite interesting. And then the meanings of these words, that the Lamed is based upon a shepherd's staff or a goad. That's one of those things that you move and prod um, cattle with. And so here in this teaching, there's a way of pricking us, of moving us. And then the mem has to do with physical existence, source of creation. It's moving, it's changing, you're growing, if you will. And so I found some really interesting things tied in there. So from that base word, we're going to take a look at what Jastro's Targumim has, uh, the lexicon of the Targumim has to say. And of course, this word has many different meanings. There's a lot on it. Um, all of them are based upon the word poor, but again, trying to find out, is there more than the way we understand poor today? So here's a inset paragraph on poor. Here's another one about poor, but here's the same spelling, but it's a secondary use of the word, and it has a slightly different meaning, and it goes to make poor, but then the word that jumped out to me is to reduce. And so that one stuck with me. And so I want to hold that thought of reducing, because that would fit with the whole theme of what the kingdom of God is about, that it's not about the things of this world, it's about spiritual things, it's about things that pertain with being a blessing into others' lives and giving of ourselves, not accumulating, but being vessels where we're being used to help others. And so you have a spirit of reduction. You have a spirit of um, causing yourself to become minimalized and not to accumulate, but to reduce your worldly things. And that fits perfectly with all the other teachings that Jesus had. So let's see if we can find a little bit more to substantiate that. So realize that this entry in Jastro's is using a four-letter um, uh, basis. It totally ignores the Lamed, which would mean two or four. So this could mean, if we take the Lamed into account, it'd be two or four reducing, having a spirit causing you to want to reduce. And I saw slogan somewhere. It says "Live generously." I believe it's part of the Thrivent um, campaign of insurance to live generously, and I always really like this. So let's take a look at if we remove the mem and look at the samak and the kaf and see what that samak, kaf, nun, what they would have for their root word. And so we look at it here in Jastrows. It has to do with supplying, has to do with managing, here's even a giving rations to the poor. It makes reference to stinginess, but of course, the opposite of stinginess is to give liberally. And so this kind of fits hand in hand. And so it's to have your affairs in order to where you're managing things properly, and you have a spirit of supplying to others. And I thought that was just a very beautiful, beautiful understanding. I want to take one more look here as we go to a commentator that I really like. His name is Samson Raphael Hirsch, and he has a etymological dictionary of biblical Hebrew. And so when we take a look at the Samek Kaf Nun in his lexicon, we see that this is just directing your attention to, but for the purpose of caring for. And this all starts to fit together very, very nicely to me to give me a new understanding of this, of having a spirit of learning to reduce your own lifestyle and to supply to those that are in need, to have that spirit of compassion very much sums it up. But just here is telling us that our life does not consist of the things that we own or the possessions that we have, but it consists of things we do in blessing and being a blessing and encouraging others and helping them to find the kingdom of God. And I again feel that this is all very supportive of what the kingdom of God is really intended to be. And so I hope you enjoyed this little study today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button that shows up. Feel free to send this to anyone else you think that may enjoy it. There seems to be a hunger today for learning the Aramaic language or understanding more from it than maybe was taught. Because again, this verse, if you were to look at just the word poor in English, you would never be able to get this deeper knowledge and this, I feel, heartfelt and kingdom-minded understanding of what Jesus was trying to say. So God bless you all and hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye.